Hey guys, and welcome back to another React. I've slept in, so I'm a little more awake this time for this week's ISC, which looks to be called Tactical Capital, which we can assume is tied to the capital ships in the event they just did. So my position on the Idris event, I think it's really bad, okay? I got a unique take about this, and I think I'm going to articulate that in a video in the soon future, but I'm not a fan of this type of event. I don't like the idea that CIG pretend it's a game by getting inside and playing Dungeon Master in the sandbox. I think that these type of missions or gameplay or events should exist purely upon the game systems. Like maybe you go loot a rare security keycard that has a 0.01% chance to be looted in bunkers. And if you get this keycard, then you can take it over to Bajini Station and use it to board and steal a capital ship, which then spawns the mission. But I don't like the idea that it's about CIG developers and trying to stalk them and get into servers before they fill up. It's massively immersive, immersion breaking. I'm really not a fan, and I feel like I'm being I'm gonna be honest, okay? You know, I'm a bit of a crybaby when it comes to this, but this makes me feel like I'm being scammed. And I get it, it's a hot take, but when CIG are dangling capital ships in front of me, and it's the only reason it's being dangled in front of me is because CIG developers spawned it using admin dev tools rather than it actually spawning because of a game mechanic. I feel like I'm being scammed. You know, it's bad, guys. I really dislike the way they do this. Why can't we make the game? Why can't this be introduced to the game? Why can't this event be created using mechanics of the game? You know, this should be a mission. We shouldn't be dependent on stalking CIG employees. I don't even want to see the letters CIG in the game. You know, I don't want to be brought out of that immersion. I really disliked this event. I do. I know, I might not be popular with that opinion, but it makes me feel scammed. And every time, I want to go in and absolutely throw down with 20 of my killers in Discord, right? But I can't because we're just trying to join party. Otherwise, you're trying to stream snipe some streamer that has a CIG developer on their server, and you're trying to squeeze in to get part of the fun. No, tie this into the economy, which has been neglected for 10 years. Tie this Idris event into the economy. A rare key card, for example. And then guess what? Maybe you loot it. Maybe you decide that you don't have friends to outfit and defend an Idris. So what do? You sell it instead. Maybe people start selling these key cards for 50 million UEC. And then all of a sudden, there's reason to justify going to bunkers and stuff like that. I hate the Dungeon Master feeling of these events. And I don't want to be stalking CIG developers to be able to play the game. All right, there's my spicy take. Sorry, had to be said. I've wanted to vent about that for a while. Let's dig in.
Last week was our inaugural Idris Wargames test, and while that completed earlier
let me know what you guys thought of the test in the comments, yeah? I spent 4 hours last night replying to most of you guys in the comments. I plan on getting to the rest of you, but let me know what you think of the event. I really want you guys to let me know what you thought about the Idris event, how it was introduced, how the developers are staging and dungeon mastering these events, trying to defend and boarding. What did you think of the whole thing? I really want to know.
This week with many lessons.
Am I alone in my thinking?
The ship itself is still awaiting important resource management, maelstrom, multi-crew gameplay work, and more before it'll arrive permanently in the persistent universe. We here at ISC still jumped at the chance to showcase the current artistic progress of the vehicle inside and out, as well as to enlist a few of our oldest friends in providing a sort of director's commentary to the proceedings. Here's how it went.
I love the Idris itself, for the record. Love it. Yeah, good to see John Crew back.
Part of the art director for 2022 here.
Your new title.
I don't even know what I am anymore. Shall I say that?
Should I say that? That'd be good.
Yeah?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Nate. I've not got a clue what I am anymore.
He's the one.
That'll go down well.
The one beef of the
Should we
week.
do that? Yeah.
Get it
Some
in early.
days I'm this, other days I'm that.
Where do you want to be today, Nate?
I don't know what I want to be today. What should I be today? Yeah, I was the art director for the thing. There you go.
Do you want me to go first?
Probably because they let go of some of the staff. He's gotten the promotion, but that was a bit too soon, wasn't it?
You can be my bloody guest, mate.
This guy seems cool though. He seems like a
Hi,
funny
my name's
character.
John Crew. I'm the vehicle art director.
Hi, my name's Nate.
We like John.
I was.
John is a sweaty Warhammer nerd, and we love Warhammer here. So props to John. Cool dude. He's got a cool stream as well.
The vehicle art director.
We've been asked today to give you a little director's commentary over the Idris that you will have seen in the PU being fought over recently.
The animation team always do like a really good job at this stuff.
Right, so the exterior, this has had quite a few iterations.
Man,
over
it's a
time
cool looking
in terms
ship.
of
It's
not
such
the
a
shape,
cool
the
looking
shape
ship.
stayed the same, but how like the breakup, the materials on it,
Yeah,
the
the
engine the thrusters of.
Yeah, the shapes remain pretty true. We did make amendments to the exterior to fit the interior in because the number of spaces that we needed for
Yeah.
Squadron sort of slowly increased. So it's a very tightly packed capital ship.
If you look at
So many
original
turrets. It
concept,
looks so good.
it was quite a thin ship as well.
Yeah.
It just couldn't fit everything in it.
I think my favourite feature from the original one was the hilarious flight of stairs that came down in the middle of the flight deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was my first fix.
Like, I really wish that when they were hyping all of this, that they were just releasing it to us. You know, like, we've waited so long at this point. There's so many excuses as to why it shouldn't be in our hands. Like, oh, the armor system isn't in yet. Oh, it needs servo meshing. Oh, the performance is bad. There's interior culling, you know, like engineering and stuff. Like, there could be no Squadron 42 is out yet. You know, there's so many excuses as to why it shouldn't be in, and I just want it to be in already. Because it's an entire gameplay loop, and it was the selling point from the very beginning. They were selling the fighter experience early on at the very beginning, but they were also selling the capital experience very early. And we've got the 890 jump. We've had that for a long time, so why can't we be trusted with the Idris? I just think it's time. You know, it's time. Time for us to see an entire new gameplay loop that's been out of reach but promised to us for a decade now, man. Enough waiting, in my opinion. Like, I want to see these things duke it out.
To the back of it, which is the way most players should normally enter the Idris.
Landing gear deployed.
Man, they did such a good job with it.
Landing complete.
You can go in the front, but that'll be a bit.
It's getting dark now, John.
So there we got.
Yo, this guy's great.
In Squadron, there is space for 2 Gladiuses, Gladii, and there's a space for the Argo and PV at the back, but you can technically fit 3 ships in here.
Yeah, when you first land, you'll sort of notice that the exits for the hangar are generally sort of at a lower level. One of the things we do a lot of throughout the ship actually is just slight changes in elevation, even though you're on the same deck. And the general layout is fairly symmetrical, I would say. The ship, when it was first put together, was really sort of, I would say, designed from the inside out. So there was a lot of amendments on the exterior to make the interior, you know, interior to me is
Man, look at that. You can hear my cat making noises in the background. Man, look at all the rooms. The thing is, like, from the outside when you're flying around, it's very deceptive of like how small like, you'd assume the interior was far smaller than this, but this is huge, man. This thing is gigantic. And it's funny because you fly around, you do an Idris mission, you see the Idris in space, and you know, I guess the distance is deceiving, but wow, it's massive. It's so cool. So cool. Can't wait for capital ship gameplay. I really cannot wait. So cool.
The interior, interior to me is always king. You spend a lot longer on the interior of the
Oh,
ship.
wow.
So, we sculpted the exterior skin around that. If you were to hide that exterior.
It's like bigger than most FPS maps in a game. Like this is bigger than a Call of Duty or a Halo match. Like, wow.
I mean, there is no breathing room. It is like a bit of an engineering masterpiece, to be honest.
This is where the MPUV hangs from the ceiling.
Skydiving also.
Yeah,
Go skydiving.
I've watched many people accidentally fall out the bottom of the Idris in atmosphere out that hole. So don't do that.
Cool.
Or if you want to recreate the alien dropship scene, it's
Do
pretty
that.
cool. The gravity room, which was originally upstairs.
Love this. And earlier they proposed that you could like come into this room, disable gravity via this, and then turn a gravity-based FPS fight into 0G. So that's like this is a key component to how the FPS plays out. I wonder if they're sticking to that.
Shift things around through the process again, taking inspiration from real-world scientific areas. That whole room actually closes into its own cylinder. You have to sort of open the door to sort of get in, and you can close it behind you. It's
Very
power
cool.
trip. And for all intents and purposes, unless you're going to your bunk or you're going to very specific areas like the briefing room or the gravity room, which you've just seen there are no dead ends. It was put together when I was on the ship and originally sort of designed it. It was very much sort of focused around multiplayer combat at the time, and
Cool.
a good multiplayer map is you've always got options. You've always got at least 2 options at every corridor, every room.
You're constantly flowing.
Yeah,
it.
no dead end. So yeah, as you can see.
I actually had a bug this morning come through about the writing on the wall being shorthand.
Oh dear.
So it's spelt incorrectly.
Oh.
I was like, no, it's not. It's an intentional choice.
Yeah.
So we've got the ATC room, which overlooks the hangar, which is obviously very useful for being an ATC. We'll come back later to the other side to see.
I wonder if there's
going
to be gameplay with the ATC. Like, are these terminals actually going to need to be managed, or are they just going to be sitting there? Like in Squadron, of course, they're going to have NPCs here, but I wonder if the players will actually need to operate the terminals or not.
There's a lot of decks to the Idris.
Yeah. There's the subdeck in the Argo, which you'd have seen, or the utility.
Like, it's worth mentioning, the more a ship needs to be maintained, so like the higher the player count to operate the ship, the more powerful it needs to be. If this thing takes 50 players, for example, I know that's a wild figure, nowhere near that, but say it takes 20 players to operate. You need to justify 20 other players not being in ships themselves. So the power of these ships needs to match the amount of maintenance and players needed to operate it, I think.
Vehicle, I should call it.
Same with the economic value.
The main symmetrical area, and then through the heart, I would say the center of that sort of floor plan is all of the, I would say, business side of the room. So obviously you've got your mess hall here.
It's a chow line. Don't talk about the chow line. It's
I hear roast lamb is still on special.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an inside joke, but sleeping quarters.
This is for your general crew for the ship. The bunks have shutters on them for a bit more privacy.
Wow.
Built home entertainment system.
So this is 2 mirrored, I guess, solo cabins. The pilots get their own little area at the end.
Which are about to get a little bit bigger, but you didn't hear that from me.
So the version that you're seeing here is taken from a point in time on Squadron recently, but there are lots of little tweaks that we'll talk about in the future to deliver more of the Idris. One of them, the missile room, is a big one that's still to come that is not available here at this time. But there's, like Nate said, lots of other little tweaks as we get closer to shipping Squadron that we'll be making.
Again, inspirations with regards to archetype for Aegis. You can see there's a strong inspiration from some of my favorite 1980s movies through here. I like to see, material breakup, introduce textures, leather where we can do to make it feel a bit softer and more inviting, as a good habitational area should be. And it's different for different ships, right? But when you're designing a capital ship, it kind of needs to tick all of the boxes. From a putting the ship together point of view, everything is modular. So you'll notice probably in the PU now a lot of these elements are reused in some of the Aegis ships, simply because we try and put the ships together in a modular fashion. And the bigger the ship gets, the more modular it needs to be. You really want to avoid doing too much unique stuff because it will hammer your video memory. Because this was I would say it's the first capital ship we done. It is the first, isn't it? Yeah, and it was really sort of, genesis of, this was put into production actually around the same time as the Retaliator, many years ago. And it was at that time that we started to establish, a really good understanding of how we want habitational areas to feel and look, feeling being a prominent feature. Engineering, again, completely different. You got the technology side of it and the medical side of it. So they became the sort of like 4 style guides, I would say, that became the springboard for a lot of the other ships to sort of follow on from.
Yeah, you see a lot of similar stuff in the Hammerhead, which actually uses a lot of the Idris kit as well. And different areas have their different technical feeling.
You'll notice here when you come in through the centre of the med bay, for example, there are very little right angles. When you look at the floor plan, for example, it generally dollies off at 45-degree angles or 60-degree angles. I don't like right angles in floor plans. Things need to flow. As you can see there, you're going to get a right angle when you come out of a door. There's not much you can do about that. But yeah, and it's all interweaved. You'll notice there's lots of windows that look outside. There's lots of windows that look back into the hangar. So
yeah, very cool.
Escape pods here.
Yeah, right at the front of the ship now. So this is the manned turret at the front, the big one up top. And then lots of escape pods here for everyone that's in the sort of upper front half if things go sideways and you need to get off the ship.
We got a lot of escape pods in the ships that don't function, so you really just run out. But it'd be interesting to see when escape pods actually come into the game, for sure. But I mean, it looks like a good FPS map, right? Because that's really all we can look at this like right now. Engineering will change that up, but at the moment, it's purely an FPS map, which is fun. It looks really cool, really cool.
Going back down the starboard side, have to do the bathroom head of port and starboard.
Yeah, interesting you mentioned that, John, because navigation has been a little bit of an issue. So these corridors that you're running around at the moment, they're going to have a lot more of an injection of colour in the future. So you'll have a much better understanding of whether you're going forwards or backwards or whether you're on the left or the right. Worth noting as well, like all the spaces that you're seeing are completely undressed. There are, tens of thousands of entities that end up on top of what you're seeing for Squadron because it needs to feel more lived in, it needs to tell that story. So it's kind of bare bones seeing it this way, which is kind of strange for me at the moment.
Yeah, it was very strange when we were getting this ready for the PU to take off all those layers and sort of see it in a state that we've not seen.
Plus also we're not seeing it with NPCs.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Like, the thing is, the amount of weight that these ships are gonna weigh on our graphics cards and stuff, like, they might wait for the next graphics card series to come before they release these things to us, because there is so much like unrealistic detail in these ships. It's kind of what Star Citizen always promised to be, right? A level of detail that could never be delivered with the hardware we have, but you take 10 years to build a game, the hardware eventually catches up, and it's only ever going to increase. So, a good time to let us in there. It's funny, people think I'm strictly, a light fighter enthusiast, but man, I really want capital gameplay. I do. It's definitely one of the selling points as to why I got the game, and I've been looking forward to it for so long. So, yeah, I just want it in our hands. I really want to see these big boys go head to head. And I really want to see players that were interested in that larger escalation of combat exist. Yeah, I want to see a whole new side to combat. I want to see the heavyweights go at it.
You see this with NPCs and, people walking around, carrying out their duties, engineers doing their things at panels or whatnot. It feels lived in, it feels alive. But you know, hopefully when it goes into the PU, there'll be plenty of people running around anyway, which will make it feel very similar for you guys. Hamster balls. You want to get buff? Go to the gym.
Well, I just don't know, like, how are we going to convince 20 players to get inside this thing? You know, like, that's 20 players that aren't flying their own ships in a game that is entirely selling ships. So again, like, these ships need to be on another level, you know, like they need to be gigantic whales in the ocean, all right? And the rest of the ecosystem, tiny little fish, because you have to justify the weight, right? Like 20 players, this thing needs to be able to hold its own against 20 ships, in my eyes.
Gym.
I don't know what we had there originally opposite the ATC. Was it? It was the pilot.
It was the pilot ready area, but we moved the pilot ready area down to the same level as the hangar, so you can get your gear, scramble out as quickly as possible, rather than getting your gear,
Run down a flight of stairs.
falling down 2 flights of stairs, and then sort of hobbling into your ship with a broken ankle.
Then going further back. We're sort of halfway, 3/4 of the way back.
Yeah, you got your sort of, I think.
The crossover
Oh,
point.
cool.
Yeah,
And you can
got
look
two
down at the
crossover points
hangar.
on hangar.
Oh, yeah.
Now you
Very
can sort
cool.
of come through, and this is where a lot of the asymmetry comes in, although the footprint is sort of similar. You'll come through. On one side, you've got Brig, which is where all the naughty people go, and we have a lot of naughty people in the game. There's a security office in there, and on the opposite side of that is, basically the opposite side of the ship, is the armory, which you'll see in a little bit.
Big escape pods, so big shared ones rather than individual pods. You might have seen, as we've gone around, some big red signposted rooms. They, I believe, have EVA airlocks in them, as well as sort of maintenance storage areas, so all signposted so you know in a hurry where to go. Then the main briefing room.
Main briefing room, again, integral to Squadron. So
Hey,
you're
we've
gonna
seen
get mission
this.
briefings and so on.
Saw this for the vertical slice. Very
Big
cool.
ship.
Yep.
Love
There's
the
a lot to
seats.
it.
Like I say, there's a lot crammed in.
Yeah.
This is the
Now,
weapon
on opposite
armory.
side to where the brig was. So this is the armory and shooting range.
Quite a bit of inspiration from RoboCop.
Very cool.
Yeah, as you can probably all tell, I'm a bit of an 80s buff when it comes to the movies. When I had to do things for real, actually build things, it visually makes quite a big difference to me as a visual kind of guy.
That firing range area is another one of the areas that has changed around a bit over time because it was an all-in-one.
I think it was on the other side as well.
Yeah.
I think we flipped it, and then we got into the logistics of, you know, what happens if you take your gun away from there? What's going to happen to you as a player? So there was, you know, 'cause you're not supposed to walk around a military ship with a firearm in your hand, basically. So yeah, lots of minor changes there, more for the social experience.
So this is above the rear of the hangar, not all the way at the back, because it has two lifts that go down to, or one lift that goes down to the.
Cat, you guys can
Yeah,
see
one
it.
each side.
so there's one each side that connects with the hangar. So
You can see
if
my
you're
mic
bringing
lighting
in,
up because of the cat. My
supplies,
bad.
or getting ready to go out on a long journey into the depths of space, you can, you know, utility vehicle drops the cargo off
Cool.
and you can load up pretty efficiently.
See, all this like viewing of the hangars and all these components of the ship or these rooms, you know, the structure of it, also loading the hangar at the same time equals frame decreases because you're still rendering the hangar. Like the idea is you leave the hangar, you stop rendering it, it starts to free up FPS because it's unloaded off of your screen. But when so many rooms are attached to the hangar with the view, that means that you are loading the hangar into all of these rooms and rendering it. And then what's the issue with that is inside the hangars, you have ships. So you're rendering, you know, the joystick inside of the Gladius that's inside of the hangar as well as the Idris. So that's kind of a big performance hit when it comes to the capitals, especially the hangar. Because the hangar is just a big wide open space for you to put thousands of entities inside, right? Like, you know, imagine loot boxes in here. You know, you can't just deload them because every room's almost got a view of the hangar in the center of it. So I see this, I think of performance, but it looks amazing. And, you know, I think the technology, by the time this thing comes out, hardware technology will probably have caught up to be able to carry the load anyway.
Decontamination area before you
Cool.
get into the, what
Love
would be the
this.
engine
Love
room.
this.
Very different feeling, like we talked about. compared
So
to
this
the,
is
the rest of
cooling?
the ship.
Yeah, it's the thing with Aegis, we sort of looked at a lot of real-world scientific, I would say, you know, hadron colliders, nuclear reactors, CERN was a big sort of inspiration with a lot
power.
of handling and general sort of feel. And that's continued in the Gauntlet and a lot of the other Aegis ships that you'll see.
Oh,
There's
wow.
you will have seen them dotted
Cool.
around in all the corridors, but there's a lot of wall panels that hold all the components. So whilst we do have some big capital size components like in the engine room, there's a lot of sort of secondary redundancy with all these extra wall panels dotted around. So if one area of the ship goes down, it's not completely scuppered. You can still route power around.
Yeah, it's the interesting thing in the original design document, John, where if life support systems went down on the rear of the ship, there's actually sort of like large bulkheads that close that section of the ship off, so the rest of the ship can survive. So again, you know, thinking about sort of multiplayer aspect, if you were to try and ambush one of these things, I think there's going to be quite a lot of fun to be had.
Yeah, those bulkheads, I think you probably will have seen some of them in the corridors as we watch big yellowy orange.
Yellowy orange, okay.
Gosh, man, it's a nice looking ship.
The layout as well, the engine room, you'll notice, is pretty much, if you were boarding the ship from the hangar, pretty much the most well-protected room of the ship. Again, with that multiplayer feeling in mind. I think going off, do you remember Titan mode? Squadron, not Squadron, Battlefield?
Yeah.
Really just trying to create this sort of layer up on layer until you get to the engine room to make that quite difficult to ultimately disable the ship.
Like we talked about, there's a lot
cool.
of flow in the interior, but there are those areas that have very distinct choke points to get to. Like the bridge is one, whilst there is multiple ways to get there, they're quite well defendable, and then the engine room is the other. So those are two areas you really don't want people get into uninvited.
Yeah.
Like, I just think of the huge amount of effort that would be required to justify this, right? Like, again, the ship needs to perform to a scale of the amount of players that are going to be inside it. If the expectation is that there's going to be fighting, you know, to wrestle control of disabling the ship in the Idris, then the Idris needs to be boarded instead of just destroyed by, like, torpedoes. You know, so like this ship needs to be a titan. It needs to be, you know, a god amongst the other ships in the ecosystem to justify this much effort, all this gameplay. Because if we want this gameplay to be the norm, yeah, it needs to be powerful. Otherwise, we're role-playing a circumstance where we needed to board the Idris instead of just torpedoing it. And, you know, an Idris is a big deal and a rare ship to run into. It is a force to be reckoned with. We need to justify it, but man, it looks wicked. And I love that they're doing the tour of the ship because, you know, when you get into these ships, it's really easy to overlook all the detail. So it's nice to be appreciative of it not having it in our hands. Otherwise, we'd be overlooking a lot of this. But this is very cool, very well done to the team that did it.
There's a few ways you can go up to the bridge. There's obviously this lift. But there is also a set of staircases either side.
Man.
So you have the...
You know, at my work, we've got designers, and yeah, just thinking about how much design went into this, you know, whatever modeling they use, insane.
Sort of tactical stations at the back, flanking each side, down on a lower level from the main bridge area.
I think
Love the bridge.
I would say most proud of on the bridge. There's been a lot of rework done, but you'll notice here the view out is pretty spectacular. Removed the what would be, you know, the cross frame.
I love the visibility, right?
The,
like, so from the bridge, you can watch the turrets performing. You can see, you know, almost the entire picture of the top side of the ship. So I love the visibility of it. So cool.
The ship. So you got.
They've clearly done a lot of playing inside of this.
Space. But it still feels chunky and weighty, which it needs to, which is, you know, a success.
Yep. Very cool.
So that was a little bit of a director's commentary on the Idris, which hopefully you'll have seen and experienced as part of the event that's been going on in the Persistent Universe recently. Too
soon, brother. The only experience most of us had was trying to join on a server that was full. Type in the comments section if you actually got to get inside one of these Idrises, but I didn't even get close to one, boys. So yeah, like, I hate to be the Debbie Downer, but I care a lot about the game, and truly it being a game. But yeah, the event was really disappointing for me. Really disappointing. I just want the game to be the game. I don't want outside forces and like staff dungeon mastering the game. I want it to be immersive. I want it to tie into the economy. I want like progression and stuff, right? Like, there's all these missed opportunities when we're just like, oh, let's get the developers to spawn it into the PU. Like, nah, let's tie this thing into the game. You know, like, it could have been tied into the economy, which needs much needed love. Again, I just think it's a missed opportunity. It's unfortunate. Yeah, you know, I hate to sound like the Debbie Downer, but it makes me feel like I'm getting a bit scammed. And I love the game. Yeah, like, I'm so passionate about it, but it's not a good feeling.
And as great as the ship looks in the video and the events, there's still quite a bit of work to do before we can give it to players to have for real. Things like resource network, multi-crew gameplay, all these things that make it an actual living, breathing capital ship that you want to run and own. That's pretty much it for now.
Yeah, to echo what John said, hope you enjoyed what you saw. You know, still a ways to go with regards to sort of delivering, you know, the ship as a whole for the PU. But I just want to give a shout out to all the teams that have been involved in working on it. I mean, the list is endless. Artists, designers, concept artists, lighting crew, social design, level design. I mean, it's huge. There is literally hundreds of people involved in delivering such an asset.
And I feel bad because I'm souring the video a bit with the event, but it is like a huge feat to deliver this thing. It's so cool. It looks awesome. It looks exactly like a capital ship would. They have cut 0 corners. You're completely immersed inside of it. It's such a well done ship. It looks wicked, guys. Outside, exterior, interior, these guys did awesome. Like John Crew and that always deliver this insane quality with their work. So, you know, a huge kudos to that. I hope I don't sound too negative with it. They probably didn't deserve the Idris event comments on the video, but very awesome, guys. So cool.
To yourselves, and we really hope with the limited time that you get it, that you really enjoy it.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if there's people at the company that haven't touched it in some way or form over the years. Yeah. It's such a big part of the experience.
Hell yeah.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that the Idris is a delight to behold inside and out, that it's benefited and continues to do so from years of iteration in Squadron 42.
10 years.
That there's still lots to be done beyond the currently fantastic art to bring the gameplay to it that it and its owners deserve. And that when all that is said and done, this is going to be one heck of an addition to the Persistent Universe.
It
For
is.
Inside Jared Huckabee. Oh no. Is Idris the ship you've been looking for? For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next week. Some weeks you have it, some weeks you don't.
You know, I don't think he gets enough credit for how insanely hard it would be to maintain the creativity to deliver these episodes every week, and like the production to go into them. I'll tell you guys what, it is so hard to make YouTube videos. Like, it is soul draining at times, and the trick to it is mastering your energy and not, you know, trying to over deliver on something and finding the perfect balance. And man, I don't envy his job. You ask me, he's probably got the hardest job in that company. Genuinely, I think so. I really do. It's tough. Really tough. So Jared does such a good job at it. Wouldn't want anyone else there. Very awesome. He doesn't get the kudos he deserves, I don't think. But with that being said, again, he's awesome. The Idris looks absolutely awesome. Not shocking anyone there. We knew it was going to be insane when we saw it, and it does exactly that. So 10 out of 10, guys. Anyone who worked on that, it's just so impressive. Nothing been done in gaming before. With that being said, though, I want to reiterate my points of the event. I don't like the Dungeon Master feeling. I do not like looking through a playlist trying to find staff members so that I can get abuse the player limit of the server and squeeze in guys. I don't like hopping from different realities or different universes in the multiverse to try and find the multiverse with the or the universe with the staff in it. I don't like the amount of effort outside of the game that needed to be done to be able to be a part of this event. Like, this was a out of game event. That's the reality of it. Like, 3/4 of the gameplay was out of the game. You had to, you know, look at all these streams to try and see if any of them had found a server that was good. You needed to try to stalk the staff on Spectrum to see if they're playing the game now. Have they renamed their accounts and stuff like that? Are they logged in? Can we get in there? You know, is the server full? What region are they on? Do you think they've played too much at the USA region? They're going to be in Australia sometime soon. We got to one event. We got inside one server with the event, and it was a player-run Idris, so the developers had left, you know, hours beforehand. So, like, I hate to say it, but I don't want any more of these events. I want it to be tied into a mission. Let the players have the toys in the sandbox. You know, we shouldn't have to rely on staff to give us a taste of gameplay and pretend it exists when it could just exist. This could be legitimate gameplay. It could be self-serving. It could tie into the economy. It could, you know, tie into the mission system. But for some reason, we want to dangle it using the staff. I don't like it. I don't like it. I really don't. Some people might be like, oh, it's an alpha. Yeah, well, we're at the 10-year mark, boys. I want to start seeing these things come into the game as they're intended to. Sorry, it's a bit of a rant. I was trying to be positive, but passionate. We're passionate. We love the project. We love the game. Just want it to be better. You live and you learn. GG's, yeah. Let me know what you guys think in the comments of this for the capital ships. You know, do you like the way they did this event? How do you guys feel about this Dungeon Master kind of route they're going with, dangling some of the exclusive new ships to us? You know, were you supportive of the events? You know, do you want it to continue with other ships? Or are you disappointed like me? You know, maybe I'm out of line here. You guys let me know what you think. I'm excited to read the comments again. And again, on the last two reacts, just know I'm trying to get to you all when it comes to replying, but replying to comments turns out it's about 10 times longer than it is to actually make the videos. So it's a mountain of work. I would have burned 4 hours last night replying to comments. It's crazy. But I'm very thankful for the support. Really appreciative of the discussion. And I love when you guys like converse and debate with each other in the comments. That's the coolest thing for me. So yeah, love it, guys. Appreciative. I'll catch you guys in the next react, yeah? Or the next video. I've got some Master Mode's actual gameplay videos on the way. But GG's, yeah, I'll catch you guys next time. Yo, and hit me with a 1, 2, 3 in the goddamn comment section if you stuck it out, yeah? The real ones. Hit me up. GG's.